Welcome back. Welcome back to Flight Pass. My name's Simon. Good to see you. We are talking about the Battle of Quatre Bras. We got to the end of the second crisis of the battle. Wellington's come back to find that what he thought would just be a quiet field would turned into a massive shit show. And he has fended off a series of attacks by the French with basically the wave of reinforcements arriving. First of all, we had Merlin's brigade arriving from Nivelle. We had Picton's battalions arriving. Yeah, the 92nd Highlanders, people like that. Kemp's battalions. They are arriving, and then we had the Brunswickers arrive as well. And so what's has happened is that these gaps that have appeared in the Belgium-Dutch lines have now been plugged. And with that, Wellington has now taken back control of the army from the Prince of Orange, who's done actually a really sterling job of defense. And Wellington can now start to organize his troops. So Wellington, first of all, is prepares to meet the next challenge, and he has Picton's battalions essentially deploying 500 meters in front of this road. And I believe if we come down here, you can see why that is, because it's a little ridge. And the ridge comes over and then down here. So Wellington moves his Picton's battalions south of Quatre Bras, I think essentially along this ridge. This is why we use this flight simulator and the technology. You can actually see the ground and how it influences the battle. So you can see from down here, back at the road, you won't be able to see much. So he does this classic maneuver, I think, where he says to Picton, this line here is essentially the line that I want you to move up to. And it's because he can see that Ney is preparing another attack. And he's preparing another attack essentially from this point here. And this is Bachelou's brigade. And he wants Bachelou to move essentially from this position on this side up. Sorry about that, phone. He had the troops of Bachelor will come across here, and he had 5 batteries of artillery essentially on this side, looking back up at the hill there. So we had best battalions as well were placed in defense of this highway. We've got Picton's battalions essentially along this ridge here, and he also orders the 95th Rifles essentially to cover the left flank at this point here, essentially probably using their rifles to fire into the advancing French troop from this side. Now remember, the crops at this point are tall. They're not like with this hybrid stuff we get today. This is stuff that's above your head height, so there's not there's a lot of confusion when you're moving through these fields. So Waterloo crosses what's known as the Quatre Brook, and this is this line here, this brook here. This is the farmhouse of Gemincourt, and essentially there's a brook here with these trees across it. When they come across these trees, the columns obviously are quite broken up, and they then carry on up this slope. I'm just trying to get a good. It's either one or the other on this thing. Essentially, sort of, they come through here and then up this slope here. That's a good little shot there. If you can see the sort of the angle now of the slope going up. So Waterloo's troops are moving up here, and when they're just about to reach the northern bank, essentially coming up this side, then Picton opens up on them. The classic sort of British tactic, using the reverse slope or the slope to conceal and then surprise your enemy. This volley is quite devastating. It halts the French in their tracks, and there's Picton follows up by ordering these battalions to bayonet charge the French. So we are essentially looking in this area here. So they come out, the French come out, there's a volley here, and then there's a call, boom, and then they bayonet charge these French back down the slope. Now, there's some intervention basically behind here. Pirot's cavalry managed to halt the pursuit, and the French artillery over here as well come to support Waterloo's advance, and that forces Picton himself and to order his battalions to retire and essentially, presumably, come back over this slope so that they can't be seen. Now, Pirot's cavalry at this point charges these battalions and force the redcoats to have to stand their ground and essentially form square. Excuse me. If no one's familiar, by the way, if I'm talking, I'm going to assume people who watch this kind of know what I'm talking about, but a square is essentially that the lines are literally formed into a square so that they can have their bayonets all facing outwards, and it essentially means that the horses won't charge the infantry. The attack must have been pretty quick because these battalions are pretty experienced. We're talking the 42nd and the 44th. One of them, their they hold their ground, these British redcoats, but the 42nd is broken and the 44th are ridden down, and the 44th's colour was disputed. This cavalry charge, presumably we're talking essentially maybe coming from this way. They come through, they force these Picton's battalions into square. Some of them are broken. They also ride on into a battalion of Hanoverians, and this is what's known as the next, the third crisis has arrived. Again, the French seem to be in a decent position here, and this is the third crisis. Now, what we read about is that these Pires horsemen, they're exhilarated, they're in their sort of the passions of battle or whatever. They come up to after riding down these the 42nd and the 44th and some Hanoverians. They're pressing onto this this road, the Namur Road, and look at that. You can actually see the banks here. Essentially, they get to this road, and two battalions of infantry sheltering in the ditch of this road. They open fire and they drive the cavalry off, and so this averts that crisis for now. And the time is around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, at this point, that Ney is realizing that he's going to essentially need to have reinforcements come up, and he is expecting de Erlon to arrive shortly. So there's a pause here in the battle. Ney is expecting de Erlon to come up this road from Gozelles. This here is the village of Gozelles. It's difficult to see with all its modern buildings, but it's essentially this place here. And so in the morning, de Erlon is going to... Well, this is what Ney expects. He expects de Erlon to move up this road with his corps and come to coming to the battlefield from here. And also at this time then, Wellington is taking advantage of the break to restore order to his front, and he too is awaiting reinforcements. So now the battle, 4 p.m. We've looked at Ligny. It says essentially it's the time at Ligny where Napoleon is considering putting his guard in to battle. For context, and so Wellington is hoping for more reinforcements to come from Nivelles, and Ney is waiting for more reinforcements to come from de Erlon. Now, we discussed de Erlon in the Ligny battle, but he had concentrated. He's got, they say it's concentrated his divisions around the village of Jumet. Now, we may have to... I thought it was Gozelles, but let's have a look at the map, see if we can find Jumet. Yeah, so it's just south, this place here. This is where de Erlon, I said Gozelles, which is, it's just south of Gozelles. It's, so just to correct that, we're looking then, essentially at the end of this runway, basically. Probably around about here. So his orders on the day were essentially, he was given an order at 11 o'clock in the morning. Let me just get rid of that. Sorry, let me get rid of that map for you. Yeah, so this is Jumet here. And this is Gozelles just here. And so in this area here, de Erlon is core. He's got 5 divisions. And he receives the order at 11 a.m. To basically prepare to follow Rail's corps up this road towards up this road here. At 12:15 p.m. he gets the order to move to Frasnes, and which is this place here. They call it Les Bonvillers. It's actually Frasnes les Gozelles, this place. And the head of his column arrived at Gozelles at around about 1:30. So we're back here again. And we're doing this because this is one of the defining moments in the battle. So this is where the front divisions of de Erlon reach around about 1:30 to 2 p.m. So this is just before the battle started properly at Quatre Bras. He receives reports here that there's Allied troops that are threatening him, his left flank, and so he stops here to investigate, and he continues his march at 3 p.m. And so 3 p.m., remember, that's the time essentially when Wellington has just ridden back from Ligny to Quatre Bras. It's that sort of time. It's the time of the second crisis at Quatre Bras. And so de Erlon is leaving here at 3 p.m. And they say he crosses the Roman road south of Frasnes just after 4 p.m. Now, what does that mean? Roman road south of Frasnes. Let's bring up the other map. So, when you say you're crossing the Roman road south of Frasnes, you are talking essentially... It's difficult to see, but it's possible that... can you see that line here? This is actually an old Roman road. line. So we can try and find that, which would probably be... Let me just remove this map for you before I do this. I think it's this line here. See that line? That line there is an old Roman road. So when they say that he crossed this line, the Roman road south of Frasnes, we're talking about this. Now this is no longer an actual road in the modern sense. So we're looking south here. But you can see the way that the fields are parted as well along this line. So this is the Roman road that they were talking about. And he gets here at 4 o'clock. And this, at this point, is when Napoleon, over at Ligny, which is in this direction, you can see the Fleurus on the right there, and in the center is Vagnelli. Basically, Fleurus is where Napoleon is, and Vagnelli is the left-hand flank of the French attack at Ligny. So at 4 o'clock, this is when d'Erlon gets the message from Napoleon that he's to move to the heights of Saint-Amand and thence towards Ligny. So in terms, so essentially he's been told to go this way, and the heights of Saint-Amand, I mean, it's all relative, but it's essentially where Bray is. It's this area here, which is where the Prussians' center of their defense is here. So this is essentially what he's been told to do, and this Roman road here, which comes all the way down here, essentially makes that sense. So what does this mean? Well, we spoke about that third crisis. We spoke about the cavalry of Pires attacking the British left flank at Quatre Bras. This was the crisis point, the third crisis point, and this was essentially when Ney needed d'Erlon's corps. And so d'Erlon would have been, if you just come up the road here, we're going up the Frasnes here. What's this? 1, 2, essentially 3, maybe 4, possibly 5 miles. Was essentially around about 5 miles away. 4 o'clock, 5 miles. You'd expect the corps of d'Erlon to arrive at that battlefield essentially probably around about 7 to 8 o'clock in the evening. But at this point, so we're here, d'Erlon is actually told to go the other way, which is probably about the same sort of distance. You're probably looking maybe again 5 odd miles across that way. Now, so these orders by Napoleon really means that Ney's not going to get his reinforcements, and it's believed that Napoleon didn't send 2 messengers. He sent one to d'Erlon. It's believed that that messenger was supposed to then go on to Ney. Whether it's Napoleon's fault or not, because his chief of staff was supposed to be in control of this. But normally someone like Berthier would send out multiple messengers with maybe the same message, verbally plus just and written. And if he was going to inform d'Erlon of his wishes, then he would also send a message to Ney. But it's believed he sent the messenger to de Erlon first, and then he was then to move to Ney to tell him. So the messenger's got to ride across to find de Erlon, and then ride up to find Ney. So again, it's a small, a minor difference, but it's in terms of timings, it's very important. And essentially what we get then is, to cut a quick story short, is de Erlon will move across this way, but essentially he comes when he appears on this side here, he, if you remember, he freaks out Van Damme. Van Damme is in control of the French left, and Van Damme's like, oh my god, they've got troops just arrived on our flank that he wasn't expecting. And so by the time, if you remember, it was just as Napoleon was about to commit the guard, he essentially has to wait so that he could just confirm that the troops on his left were actually de Erlon and not Wellington. And remember as well, another mistake that happened was that de Erlon hadn't sent a messenger forward to warn the French left flank that it was actually him. I mean, it was quite a simple act to do. You send one messenger forward to say, it's us, don't panic. He doesn't do that. Okay, that seems like a good place to have another break. I will chop this up later to put it onto YouTube for nice bite-sized pieces. I hope you're enjoying this. This is a sort of things that we really like, and getting down and dirty and having an overview using this sort of the flight technology to do it. We will be getting back into the helicopter essentially every now and then, and we have been in it a lot. So if you have just joined, we do flight simulator stuff. Don't worry about it. But when we actually get to these battles, it's good to jump out. So I will take a break there, and when I get back, we will continue with the Battle of Quatre Bras, and we'll see what Ney's reaction is to not getting his reinforcements. So I'll see you in a moment.